And welcome back to Daybreak here on Citizen TV. We like to start the week off with a little motivation. Motivation Monday, Inspirational Monday, whatever you want to call it. Welly Odendo back with me this morning.
Thank you.
Looking good. I like all the bling happening.
We just had a wedding.
Oh, yeah, well. So this morning we're going to talk a little bit about relationships, be it work relationships, friendships, romantic relationships. At some point they're going to come to an end. And we need to, learn how to sort of move on and deal with the past, as it were. So we're going to talk about how to dealing with exes, so to speak. Right? And this might be an uncomfortable, situation for a lot of people. I was just having a conversation with Willis Raburu just now, and I was asking him, are you friends with your exes? Because I'm not friends with any of my exes. I believe when the relationship is over, it's over. Everything is over. What is your sort of point of view on that?
Well, I think with the relationships is that maybe by the time it comes to the end, always one party was ready before the other party. So another person will be left lingering with either the emotions, the expectations, and the surprise gift of ending that they never expected. And I think dealing with the surprise of an ending, for one person, they already ran through it before they submitted the request that I think we are better off apart than together. But for the other party who was still putting in planning, strategizing, forecasting the two together, I think now that's where the imbalance comes in. It depends now on which side you are. You are either the one who serves the dish or you are served the dish.
Yeah, I know. It's a complicated thing, and I don't know why men do this. It's like they break up with you in January in their minds, but don't tell you until August.
Men are cowards. Men are cowards. I think men struggle more with communicating hard emotions. They are better with communicating hard ideas, hard demands of life, work, moving things, moving the house. But communicating hard emotions is not one of our biggest forte. So we have to really grieve and mourn. Some men just play it out so that you have the privilege of dumping them, but they actually dumped you. They could not just tell you. They just waited for you to tell them. So they just play it out, hang loose, wait, play lazy until you say, hey, Welly, it's not working, and I think you and I are not better off together. They say, okay, and then unamwona kumbe on a date next week. So he dumped you already. He just didn't have the courage to submit to you. But now women are better off. Actually, the four words, the three words I think men fear the most is we need to talk. Yeah, 3 or 4. And tell them we need to talk. They know this is it ending. What have I done? What have I not done? Because in our world, that just tells us we've been talking. So when we need to talk, that tells me we need to talk about something that is going to redefine this entire relationship together. Yes.
So when it comes to moving on or dealing with an ex, I think boundaries are important to create, because some people kind of just live in that limbo of we're kind of broken up, we're not, and it takes a lot of your time and and a lot of effort to stay in that space. So maybe you can talk about the importance of creating a boundary.
Well, actually, before any stage of the relationship, because relationships, they come to help in self-expansion. Now, when a relationship ends, that means you suffer a level of reduction. And it is that reduction that makes somebody stay in that limbo, waiting, hatarudi, or some rush into another one, so that they are afraid of that reduction. So what must be important is that before the relationship ends, there ought to be what I would say a boundary as of who is my true self without this relationship. Unfortunately for many of us, because how our minds have been wired is that our mind fears ending, so it will do everything for it not to end. So what will happen is that you'll be trying to trick death, and you are maybe probably dead. You're just trying to trick it and try to survive. So this thing that you're calling boundaries, you should sometimes, even when you're having a happy relationship, you should ask yourself, should this relationship come to an end, which you call the surprise? Should the surprise happen? How much reduction will I experience in my life? How much have I abandoned self-care? Because the difficult thing about relationships is the lack of self-care when you're in the relationship. We give the care to the other person. Hey, Joey and I are going out. I do all the caring. I do all the telling you you're beautiful. I do coming up with the weekend plots. I pull you out of your chama. I pull you out of your holiday events. So I do everything. And then when I tell you it's over, you don't know how to start Saturday without me. I have been your Saturdays. I have been your Friday evenings. I've been your lunchtime text. I've been so, there is so much reduction in my absence. So the boundary should have started before the relationship. Even so, when you're dating and the relationship is still happy, I think you ought to have boundaries that define you and ask yourself, hey, I actually need to intentionally create a life outside this relationship so that should this relationship wind down, I can still remain as functional as possible. Now, that boundary now, it has to be intentional. You have to sometimes say, hey, babe, sweet, boss, this weekend I'm not available, even if you're just bumming at home. It will help you should it come to a sudden stop. Now, unfortunately, now maybe there's somebody who is watching who it has already come to a stop, and now their life is all mumbled up and they're wondering what to do. I think you have to maintain your personal integrity, and that is you have to stop being cruel to yourself. That hatred that you feel towards the person whom you are separating with, you end up channeling it towards yourself because you can't see them. You maybe unaenda kwa Facebook yake unamwona amepost hapo na Timo, you're feeling like life has gone on because they're not showing you how they are mourning, and so you go back, take ice cream, take popcorns, take crepes, kulo Galilea Brown in anger, saying this guy I gave him. You call your friends, and the more you are rehearsing the moment, you are destroying yourself. The hatred that you want to channel towards it. By the time you are fully healed, you'll find that I think I did more damage to myself just moving from the other relationship to the new relationship. It is important to start creating healthy mechanisms of separation. When those moments have occurred, as you've said, you decide not to keep in touch either because of the boundary of you decide ikiisha imeisha, but the world is so wide. You'll meet each other kwa malls, kwa bus stops, you'll drive together, you'll go at weddings and find yourselves there, or you'll be invited to their wedding and you'll be feeling there's always that. Because of lack of closure, there's always that unsettledness that you always feel in their presence, that if you don't check it out, you'll see that whenever you hear they are doing better in the current relationship you are, you start making demands. How come? When are we getting married? Because you've had your exes getting, when are we getting married? And where is this going? Because you're putting this person under pressure because of unresolved issues. So the boundary should be more of why did I choose to leave that relationship? Or why was I left in the relationship? Was I left because I was overbearing? What did I pick out from that relationship so that I begin to construct myself so that how I was left damaged, broken, or bruised, I cannot allow myself to remain damaged, broken, and bruised just because of that. And that's why the boundary is important, so that you reconstruct yourself. Unfortunately, many people don't use it to reconstruct themselves. They use it to get even. They think that they're punishing the living.
When most of the times that person isn't even thinking
not
about
even,
you.
Or if he's thinking, he's good at pretending. So whenever you meet, they will always put, you know, we live in a world where people can track your life instantly. Back then there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, so people could not see how you're moving. But nowadays, if we can break up today and I can take a picture with you and then I go take a picture with her and then it's like I'm trying to show that I'm moving on. But these are just pictures. I'm maybe mourning and falling apart and tearing down. And so that is now the difficult thing. And so it's easier to track your exes now than before. So you have to make, that's what I'm saying, you have to be, keep your integrity. That is, you have to make the choice to be committed to self-care in any phase.
And I think that the whole self-care aspect can apply to like a work relationship as well. Like, who am I without this job? Who am I without this friendship, without this relationship? I think that's sort of at the core of all of this.
It's at the core of all life's essence, meaning, and purpose. Because when self-care is not there, you become an absorber of the environment that you're in. You absorb too much. When that environment is withdrawn from you, you find yourself that you don't know your true self without that environment. So what do? You quickly try to rebuild that environment. And so if it's a relationship, you quickly pick anything that winks at you, you say, I think, I don't know how to stay without a guy, so let me quickly pick something to fill up that space. If it's a job, you've just been given your severance and you take that money and you say, I think dance are bees. You hear there are quails being sold, you don't even have, because you're trying to rebuild the environment, not you, because that environment has really been you. And so self-care is necessary, because the soul of a man expands and shrinks based on his relationships and his commitments. How he relates with people expands him, and what he commits himself to also expands him. So if you've lived your life committed to an environment and you've not lived your life in healthy commitment to your personal expansion, then when that environment is withdrawn, you automatically trigger in your mind what learned psychologists, they call it the cognitive dissonance, whereby your mind knows, I should not be doing this. But your mind is too shy, lazy, and distressed. It doesn't know how to live without it. So it knows the principle, but it practices against it. Like, how many people know, I should not drink and drive? But people just do it. They do it, and then they go back and say, until they come up with the kusema, hii gari yangu najuanga nyumbani. Until the next time we meet you, you're hanging your leg on a sling, your jaw is broken, and then now at that time, you discover you've taught yourself to live with that cognitive, that dissonance, but it should not be the case. Even in the midst of that dissonance, you should be able to put yourself in the place of knowing that, hey, I need to maintain my soul in an expansive format. The reason why I either got a job was for this expansion that I desired. When that job ceases, my self-expansion should not cease. It should just be a dissonance in me, but it is not a full collapse of everything that I am. I am angry. I am now praying that something bad happens to that organization, though they know how much an asset they have lost. Watanikumbuka, they will cry, they will come back begging. You can practice at that time and say, this dissonance has occurred. My mind has already processed this and told me, this end has come. How do I adjust? So I need to be a bit slower. I need to pull some hard stops and know that, hey, I had these flows coming in, now I don't have them. I need to make hard stops. But people just want to maintain the rhythm, and life has changed and they're maintaining the rhythm, and before long they run out completely. And now by the time people know you're broken down, is you broke down the day you lost your job, not now when we are seeing you hiding.
See, some people think about, you know, we're speaking about the end, right? End of a relationship, end of a work situation. A lot of people think like, I invested so much in this, right? I gave you the 5 of, you know, my best years or whatever it is, and you just feel like that loss is hard to, because you're never going to get that back. So for someone dealing with that type of a situation where they feel like I invested so much or so much time or energy, how do you move forward?
Loss is difficult. Loss, and that's because it creates that element of reduction. I think, and I know people don't like this, but I think you should start by seeking counsel when you feel at the point of feeling the sense of loss, because at the first stage you can manage it because you are trying to bring yourself to acceptance. But some of us take a lot of time because of that over-investment that you feel. And so I think you need to talk. You need to get somebody who can help you. You need to find somebody who is well-versed in the subject of delinking and detaching the soul from the attachments that we have built. It starts by getting help. Secondly, you must maintain your commitment to choose. Love, choose, right, choose. You must maintain that commitment, because as life happens to us, slowly by slowly, and I think I've said this, slowly by slowly, people begin to find themselves that they are creatures of moments, not creatures of choice. Because when this happens, I do this. Nikijam, muslap. And until one day, we see on Facebook that you punched your wife out in the name of she didn't do, because you are used to responding to the moment based with the emotion you have at the moment. But you need to teach yourself that regardless of the emotion, I can make a choice. And the choice is this: I have to allow the emotion. As the emotion rises, I have to find the core which can help me make that choice, the right choice. And so when that loss has occurred, you have to ask yourself, what has been threatened? Is it the quality of my life? Is it the access to particular places? Is it this and this? And when I look at those things that have been threatened, then I start making choices. How should I adjust in this period of distress so that I can cope with what has been threatened before the full heat of what has happened settles in? Now, you begin to take those adjustments. But you know, we don't want to fall out of the circle. We don't want to fall out of the league. If people know this, and unfortunately for we who are in the public light, our mistakes are public, so everything we do, you go out on a holiday, it's public. You go out on a date, it's public. We never have the privacy to process privately private emotions. We break up, it's public. You get a child, it's public. Your child does not behave like the other, it's public. Everything about you will always be public. So it makes it harder. So we are ever trying to live up to the image of what this public life has created. So you need to make a choice and say, that image, I could only maintain it when there was this support system. When this support system is not there, I should be able to find my identity without the
We've spoken before about the mind being a lazy organ, and it's just so much easier for people to hate or to go to a place of name calling and belittling this person. Even though you invested so much of your time and effort there, it's just easier to hate your ex, right? So how do we move on from that space of working a little bit harder to appreciate this person's value and what input they had in your life and be able to move forward?
Well, I'll go back to the choice, because there are two continuums that the mind sees. On this end it is joy, on this end it is sadness, on this end is progress, on this end it's failure. And the mind sometimes desires this end, but it finds itself being pushed to the end it does not want. Unfortunately, many of us allow the laziness of the mind to gravitate towards what it naturally feels. As you've well put it, that there are sometimes you feel like, I want to hate this guy, and yes, he cheated, and yes, he did this, and yes, he did this. But this hate, whom does it hurt? In the process, we think, by me hating them, I am prospering me. By me backbiting them, I am progressing me. But that's not how it works. You have to put yourself in the place of saying, I entered into this, whether it is a job, whether it is a boy-girl dating situation, and when it has come to a point of breakup, the continuum I have to choose is that I got into a relationship to be happy. I was left because the other party was not happy, or I was not happy. But that does now not mean I sacrifice joy, peace, progress, the continuum that I desire, so that I can spend my time. Because you can't camp at hatred and show up at the joy side. You can't camp at revenge and show up at the, you can't camp here and show up here. For me to show up on this side, the same way I got into the relationship, making a choice of wanting to be happy, and the relationship never provided happiness for me. As the mind is feeling dejected, disappointed, disapproved, within that mind, now that means what? I have to push it back by my choice. I have to push it back and tell myself, and this is why I always say this, there are three things you should never lose in a relationship. One, it's your peace. Two, it's your purpose. And three is your people. When we were relating, you had friends, man. We start relating, ukatupanisha huko hivyo. We break up, unarudi ati, hey, I'm a prodigal, nimerudi. And they're wondering, we tried to call you for things, you're ever busy, you are with Romeo. Now Romeo is gone, now umerudi, people have moved. You should have a community of people that allow you, because they are part of your identity, they are part of life. You should have that. Secondly, is your peace. And peace is the quality of mind. If you find yourself that you are not creating enough, you're not constructing enough, you're not building enough within yourself, you're not at harmony with yourself, you're ever into addictions, you're ever into mourning and sadness, that means that you are not in a relationship. You're just in a situation. You just don't want
and that's
the
a topic
feeling.
For another day.
That's a topic for another day.
Sadly, we're just out of time.
And finally, it's your purpose. You should never lose. You should live for goals. You should have something bigger than just making another person happy.
Right. I hope people have taken note of those things that you should never lose within yourself. Give us your social media handles, just quickly.
That's Welly Odendo, W-E-L-L-Y Odendo. Reach out number is 0722 92 50 31. Last week I almost gave the
somebody else's number.
The number.
Oh, they're not the main one. Thank you so much, Welly.
Thank you so much,
sorry,
Joy.
we're short on time, but you know, this is a conversation that we could have continued, I think, a little bit longer. Welly Odendo has been here talking to us about dealing with exes and, you know, closing the chapter and moving on with your life, whether it's a work relationship, a friendship, or a romantic relationship. So I hope that you've picked up a thing or two. We're going to head over to check on the